All right, so we are live streaming some Q&A today. Didn't have a chance. I mean, if you've been following the channel, I've been home. I've been pretty much sick for like 3 weeks straight. I was a bit sick for like 2 weeks, but still able to get some stuff done. And then the last week, the whole family came down with the flu pretty bad. Kids had it, gave it to me. Wife now has it, so it's been a mess. But we're getting some stuff done. So I didn't have any time to prepare a video. I have been working on the Instagram though. So if you haven't gone over to Instagram.com, it's data_draft. Getting some quicker things out on Instagram because it doesn't take as much prep. So one of the things that I just posted today was Logan Couture. He's on fire. I don't know why it's not loading, but I guess we'll just X out of that. I guess if you want to look at these, just go to Instagram because that's where they're available and that's where they're loading. But yeah, usually I highlight some daily streams, some guys you can pick up. Logan Couture and Boone Jenner both on fire right now, so they were highlighted today in those posts. And then this one right here, this one was a quick, fun little video because basically, if you watch this channel, I have an arch nemesis. His name's AC Delaware River in the THHL league. He picked up Anze Kopitar to stream last night, and ultimately I picked up Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore ends up with a hat trick, so felt a little need to gloat there. But yeah, we do a lot of Lucas Raymond. He's been hot as well, doing a lot of like these fantasy files, as well as things that you might want to pay attention to in terms of the early season trends, the weekly ads videos. Evan Rodriguez, I posted this before I got into doing this for YouTube. I believe I mentioned him in the week 6 video, but I did come out and put this out there on Instagram first. So if you haven't already, check out the Data Draft Instagram account. But yeah, we're trying to grow it. It's slowly but surely. Just trying to give you a couple different places to find some information for fantasy hockey, because I know that there's a bit of a hole there. There's not a lot of easy content to find. There's a lot of people that they think that they they know what they're talking about, and I don't want to name names or throw anybody under the bus, but you need some reliable advice for fantasy. So if you haven't done it, go over to Instagram Data Draft. But we'll be taking some questions today, and the first one I wanted to get to is Bryan Rust a drop yet? So Bryan Rust is typically one of those guys that I've had in a number of leagues, and he's a good player to have because he's getting that exposure with Guentzel and Crosby. So let's take a look at his file. Obviously, AC Delaware River has him. If you look at it, 8 points in 16 games, -9, not doing well. If you look at the shooting percentage, it's a bit low. So if you look at the career, he's usually between 10 and 15% shooting. He's at 8.7 right now. But the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, if I can find it here, the goals above and goals below expected. This is a metric that I try to use to show which players are hot and which players are cold. And it does, it's not a be all end all metric, but it is one of the advanced metrics that we can use. And so on this this metric, so he's a couple goals below expected, -2.63. And this usually indicates that guys are going to start to perform. They're getting good chances. They're just not finishing on those chances. So if you looked, I had this exact thing up about 2 weeks ago, and Chris Kreider was at the absolute bottom, and Kyle Connor was next to him. And Kreider's kind of moved up a little bit. He's still underperforming compared to how many chances he's getting. But in general, he's moving up this list. Bryan Rust should be moving up this list as well. But Pittsburgh in general just hasn't been playing all that well. So I would expect him to start performing. But with that said, I do think that Bryan Rust is kind of like a stream option. So he's not a guy that you're going to necessarily need to have on your roster at all times. But if you do have him, if you want to stick with him, it's not the end of the world. You could definitely do that. If you wanted to pick him up, I would wait for a good week for Pittsburgh, because that way you're going to get a little bit more, value out of your pick. And I don't know why that just came on. I'm trying to get the chat up so I can see some live chats here. So start Boldy or Zucker tonight. You know what? That, to me, Zucker's been very impressive over the last couple games. So let's take a look at his file. In fact, let's just use the research assistant. So if you don't have this is Yahoo Plus. You could just type in the names and see what the stats are. So we'll go Zucker, and then we'll do Boldy. Boldy's been playing really well, and I like what's been going on with Matt Boldy. He's starting to look like a mini Rantanen, but I think if you look at the peripheral coverage, Zucker's getting a lot more hits, and he's kind of doing a little bit of everything right now. And Zucker, a goal, 4 assists, a power play point, and 10 shots in the last 7 games. Boldy, only 11 shots, and they're playing each other. So, I would think Zucker would be the guy to go with there. It's just a matter of positional flexibility because Boldy is dual eligible, and it is a heavy night. So if you have a lot of your roster spots, taken up, you might want Boldy just because he could be a right wing as well. But yeah, Zucker's been killing it. I had him last week and he helped me out a lot. And he's, if you look at his game log, I believe I had him for these 2 games where he scored, 5 shots, 3 hits, 4 shots, 5 hits, 3 assists last game with 1 on the power play. So he's on a 4-game point streak. He's, doing extremely well over the last 2 weeks, basically. And I guess, if push came to shove, I'd go Zucker. Especially he's in the top 6. He's playing with Malkin. I think Boldy's, I think he's still on that 3rd line. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, I'd go I'd go Zucker over Boldy tonight, just because, what I just, okay, I'm looking at the chat here. You think if I get DeBrincat from Murray, it's pretty decent for me? Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually trying to unload Matt Murray right now. Not necessarily because he's playing poorly, just because I have 4 goalies. But I don't think you'll get DeBrincat for Matt Murray unless somebody just doesn't know what they have. Yeah, that's an easy trade. Take that. DeBrincat is wicked good. Snake bitten right now. Yes, he is. So DeBrincat is snake bitten, and see if I can find him on here. I know he was somewhere on this goals below expected right here. So negative 3.31. So he should be breaking out. And he is, typically for me, he's a 40-goal scorer. He's just not getting it done at this point in the season. But I think a lot of that has to do with the defense not being able to get him the puck with Shabbat out. Jake Sanderson's been playing pretty well, but nonetheless, yeah, I think DeBrincat has a nice line assignment. He's getting that power play time. He had a nice goal last night. So if you can get that, go for it. Trying to decide if I should drop Knight for Vanacek. Thoughts? Clark, they're both great goalies. Knight is on fire right now. So let's take a look at Knight and Vanacek. Because I had Spencer Knight. I just traded him, not necessarily because I wanted to trade him, but because I wanted to solidify goaltending, and I got UC Saros, so it kind of worked out. Why is this not going through Vanacek? Can I not spell Vanacek? Vanacek. There it is. The Devils are on a 10-game winning streak, and I literally put money on them to lose tonight because, they're playing incredibly well, and I don't see anything eye test that shows me that they're going to lose. But, yeah. Vanacek. The thing about Vanacek is he's playing in front of or behind one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in the league right now. So it's hard not to say Vanacek, especially when he's going to get more starts. But what I've been seeing out of Spencer Knight, if you look at Knight's game log, 900, not bad, 914 with a win, a shutout. That 40-save shutout is the last game that I had him. Then he got that loss right after that. But he's got 3 starts in a row because he's significantly outplaying Bobrovsky. So I would probably go Vanacek in general, but that's more of a volume play They're both very good goalies, and I do think Vanecek has the better defense, playing in front of him, but it's kind of a gut call depending on who else you have in terms of your goaltending. Like if you have two other bona fide starters and you don't need the starts as much as you need the good play, then I would maybe go with Spencer Knight, because he's been pretty good for me as a G3. But yeah, it depends on what you have. So Troy says, I offered my friend Lehkonen for Laine and Lehkonen for Batherson. Do you think these benefit me? Lehkonen for Laine, Lehkonen for Batherson. 3.0 goals, power play points. So, I mean, yeah, I do think what you're trying to do is the right thing, because you're taking Lehkonen, who has a really nice line assignment right now on the top line in Colorado. He's on PP1, and you're trying to parlay that into a longer-term play in a potential higher goal-scoring upside with Laine or Batherson. Yeah, depends on if that works for you with what else you have. It looks like it'll work for your league format, just because it looks like you got 1.5 for assists and 3 for goals, plus the power play point bonus and the shorthanded point bonus. So I think Batherson kills penalties. So that may be, because Laine hasn't been getting it done on the power play yet. Even when he's been healthy, they haven't gotten it clicking, and they weren't clicking last year. And so to me, that it seems like a nice buy low, but it's just a matter of, will they take that, and how long can you wait for Laine? Because he did come back early from the last injury, but this is an ankle, so who knows how long he's going to be out. It says 3 to 4 weeks, but he did come back early from the other injury. I just don't know if he can come back early from the ankle, because it's a completely different injury. So let me just move this over to this so we can get the chat up here. Is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins someone I should try to keep or sell high? It's tough, because he's giving you that PP1 exposure in Edmonton, but he's not a top 6 player in Edmonton normally. Screw this research assistant. I'm just going to go to the regular. A little bit easier. 17 points in 17 games. I mean, that's pretty solid. His shooting percentage is a little bit high, but it's not 30-40% high. It's just slightly above, his normal 10 to 15% range. So, he's playing well, and he's getting points, and if you look at him, 9 of them are on the power play. I would keep Nugent-Hopkins if you can. If you want to, selling high kind of indicates that you think that the player's going to drop off, and I don't necessarily see him dropping off. There are some other players who've started hot but maybe dropping off, but I don't know if he's one of them, so I would probably keep Nuge. So he says sell high, and find an Oilers fan, they'll give you something nice. Maybe, maybe not. Typically, what I've experienced is if you root for a team, you're harder on them than most other players. You don't want your own players, because especially in the Canadian market, you're always putting your team under a microscope. Should I keep Brandon Montour or sell high? I have very solid defensemen currently. I'm just wondering how much you expect his production to drop. I don't expect it to drop that much. And what I was saying about, it was basically about him and Hampus Lindholm. Because with McAvoy coming back, with Ekblad coming back, I said don't just drop these guys right away, because they could still potentially be productive. And, their roles have changed a little bit. But if you look at what happened with Lindholm when McAvoy came back, this was the game, I believe, McAvoy came back a little bit after that. So he's still getting some points. 3 assists last night and 1 assist there, and that's with McAvoy back, and he's still getting shot volume. He's still getting a couple hits. He's not a huge hitter either way, but This is Lindholm. Obviously, Montour's a little bit different, but they're both the same type of player in the sense that they were both elevated in the lineup, and they were trying to, fill in for an elite power play quarterback defenseman, and Montour's the same way. So he had a 4-point game, comes back with a 3-assist game, still gets an assist the other night. And if you notice, if you look at this ice time, this is insane. He should not be playing 30 minutes a night. So one of the things that I saw with Radko Gudas, as soon as Ekblad went down, Gudas was bumped up from like 16 minutes a night to like 24 minutes a night, and he stopped hitting. And that's the biggest thing that you would own him for. So I think what happened with Ekblad coming back is it slots everybody back where they should be, and their ice time becomes more manageable, and that allows them to be more effective, which is why I wouldn't drop Montour. Because if you look at, the shot volume is there mainly from the ice time. If you look at, 26 to 30 minutes a night, and he's getting all that shot volume, but then he starts to drop in ice time, but the shot volume isn't dropping off a cliff, and he's still picking up some points. I would stick with it. If you start to notice that he starts to drop off a cliff, then maybe reevaluate, but he's currently 53rd, and, they might actually use 2D on the power play. You never know. They've done that before. They've tried a bunch of different things. Last year, they tried no D, 5 forwards. They've tried Ekblad, 4 forwards. They'll try anything unless, if it's not working, they'll try a bunch of different things. If it is working, then they'll stick with Montour. So I would hold on to him. Zibanejad and Lafreniere for Bergeron and Stevenson. I like that for whoever's getting Bergeron and Stevenson. I love Zibanejad. Lafreniere hasn't gotten it going yet. And he's another guy who is right here on the goals below expected. So Lafreniere's getting chances. He's making plays. He's just not getting rewarded right now. And that could signal that he's going to start scoring. But at the same time, Stevenson is scoring, and Bergeron's a shot volume, 4-shot-a-game guy. So I would favor the Bergeron-Stevenson side of that one. Was I right in dropping Marchment kind of early? Yes and no. I think Marchment is more of a streaming option than a year-long guy. But if you're looking for a strict hits guy, then as long as you can find someone to replace that, it's not a big deal. He got a little bit cold. He came back a little bit. Let's take a look at his game log. Why is it? I can't pull it up. I'm just like, I guess this is just like the flu. I can't even think. Mason Marchment. I was spelling it right. Come on now. So yeah, he went ice cold for 4 or 5 games there. Wasn't even getting a ton of shots. But now, so yeah, he's not really a hits guy at this point. The last 10 games, he hasn't been getting a lot of hits. He's a guy you could probably drop and then pick back up. It's not a big deal. I need a D. Bangers Cats League. Who's a good buy low D? Jared Tenorti. He's insanely buy low, and he's a massive hitter. So let's look at all players, and we'll go to hits. And Jared Tenorti is second in the league, 11% owned, and nobody wants him because he's on Chicago. I'm amazed that he has 4 points right now. I watched him. He couldn't even crack the Rangers lineup, and for me, I was watching him eye test. He was literally just a guy that could just fire the puck off the glass and out. He couldn't even make a tape-to-tape pass, and yet he's got 4 points. I'm kind of amazed by that, but he does hit, and he gets some blocks as well. So Shen, Tenorti, Ferravari's always, he's been that guy that I've been, beating that drum for a couple weeks now. Jekai's kind of still there, but he's falling a little bit behind some of these guys. If you drafted Jacob Trouba, then this is exactly what you wanted. The shot totals are actually as high as the hit totals, which is crazy. and then 46 blocks as well. But yeah, the buy low hits guy would be Tenorti for me. The problem is you're just not going to get a lot else out of that. Thoughts on Ruzicka? Ruzicka, with that line assignment, it's looking really good. But if he does lose that line assignment, then I do wonder. I'm going to look it up and see if he's still... Because this is Flames Nation. Flames Nation's listing Huberdeau as top line now. We'll go do a different one. These don't look updated. It's always tough to find like accurate updated line combos, except for like the best place to go is Twitter and follow the beat writer, because they usually post those pretty regularly. But I don't want to take up a ton of your time trying to answer this question. But yeah, he looked very good in that top line role. It's just like if he's not there, and according to Daily Faceoff, he is still there. Ruzicka, Lindholm, and Toffoli. So I would monitor it. It's one of those things where if he's not on that line assignment, I don't know if I'd continue to go there, just because, you know, that's what's giving him his opportunity. Let's take a look at it. Actually, let's go last 7 days. Is this all? Yeah, I don't see him. Let's filter this way. Ruzicka. Yeah, he's been getting it done, but like this is what I was saying about Kaliev. So the ice time is something that you have to monitor with some of these guys, because a guy like Kaliev was putting up a ton of points, but with like 12 minutes of ice time, which is very difficult to keep up. That's kind of the same thing as trying to continue to produce with a high shooting percentage. And yeah, I mean, as long as they're going to keep scoring 6 goals, you know, whatever, then that'll probably help Ruzicka stay fantasy relevant. But yeah, I mean, he's, 5 minutes of ice and playing in a depth role, and now he's being moved up into a top line role, probably not seeing power play time, which is why he's in this ice time range. But I wouldn't think of him as a longer term play, but in a good week, if he's still on that line, that's probably decent. Troy says, 8-team league, my 3 lowest performers are Ekblad, Gaudreau, and Kempe. Should I sell low on anyone? Of the 3, Gaudreau's the least performing right now, I think. 8-team leagues are tough because everybody's got a stacked roster. So it really comes down to, I mean, I don't know if you could trade him to somebody. I guess you just drop him and try to play the wire. And usually in an 8-team league, there are guys to be had on the waiver wire. So yeah, I wouldn't drop Ekblad because he's just coming back from injury, and I could definitely see him increasing his numbers from here. And then Kempe is usually a shot volume guy. He hasn't necessarily been, lighting the lamp a lot in the last couple games. Am I wrong about that, though? Because I haven't been watching LA lately. I've been sick, so I've been falling asleep at like 9 o'clock at night. This is what I was talking about with Kaliev. 10 minutes of ice time is just not enough to mine fantasy value. Yeah, he was ice cold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, and then he scores. But at least he's getting you shot volume and some hits. So I wouldn't necessarily drop him. Gaudreau just doesn't have anything to work with at this point. That's why I would say drop him. Boone Jenner's playing really well, and maybe that's the only guy he's got, but he lost Werenski. He still doesn't have Boquist back, and then Laine's out for the foreseeable future for 4 weeks at least. So that would be my thought on that. Thoughts on who I should keep for my 3 goalies. 12 head-to-head points banger league. Currently have Jari, Quick, Jones, and Murray on IR still. Oof. Damn. I mean, of those right now, the guy you should drop would be Jari, but you can't. because he should be better than what he is, and it would be, I mean, one of those things where as soon as you drop him, somebody's going to pick him up and he's going to go off and you're going to be pissed that you dropped him. So of those guys, I guess it's tough. I mean, they're all kind of in the same boat. Like Jones is playing really well and Seattle has a really good defense in front of them. It's just a matter of, I saw Grubauer was practicing and he'll probably come back and start stealing some starts. So that would be my main thought process with Jones is, maybe drop him before he starts losing the net. But he's been playing really well, so it's tough to do that. Quick absolutely is the better of the two goalies in LA right now. Peterson had a decent game last game, but other than that, hasn't been great. Matt Murray, he's coming back. This is tonight will be his second start, so he'll be, tested against New Jersey. Hopefully trying to end that streak. I have some money on the Leafs tonight, but yeah, that's tough. Straight up, I would normally say Jari, but don't do it. So maybe Jones would be the guy to drop. Can Bratt keep this up? Yes, he can. I don't know to what extent, because Bratt was about a .94 point per game guy, and now he's well over a point per game, but he's playing in an elite top six, and New Jersey's red hot. So excuse me. 1 second. But yeah, Jesper Bratt, let's take a look at his file just for fun. Yeah, currently ranks 70th. And he's, every game he's doing something. I do think he can keep this up. I don't think when you watch New Jersey play, they can absolutely keep winning games. This is not a fluke. Like, you watch them play, they're cutting, like, if you're trying to get into their zone, they're cutting it off at the hash marks and going the other way. They're really good in transition. They're doing a lot 5-on-5. They're not terrible on the power play either. I believe Bratt is on that power play, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mentioned Bratt in one of my mock draft videos, and somebody was like questioning, why I was talking about Bratt or whatever, but that's the reason, because he's typically capable of, he's more of an assist guy than a goal guy, but he does have that potential, and he's not actually, I don't think he's playing with Hughes. I'm trying to bring up their lines right now. Again, like this line combination BS. Every place that I bring up has a different line combination. Yeah, right now, Daily Faceoff has him on the third line for some reason, but that's because they're trying a couple different things. Tatar, Hischier, Zetterlund has been the line that's been getting a lot of stuff done. And if you haven't been thinking about Zetterlund gets some shots. And that top line assignment with Tatar and Hischier, both of those guys playing with Hischier have been really good. They're trying to get Eric Halla going by putting him with Jack Hughes and Dawson Mercer. I think that's new. I think Bratt was usually with Hughes, but nonetheless, I do think Bratt can keep this up. Jack Hughes or Elias Lindholm? I'd go Hughes. If Lindholm was playing the way that he was last year, maybe, but even then, like, Jack Hughes was still playing really well last year as well. Hey man, just wanted to ask before the starts, I got a league, 6 goals. Do you think Perron versus San Jose or Konecny versus Boston? Perron is usually a very consistent fantasy player, but Konecny has been having a really good season. It's just a matter of, like, Boston is a very good defensive team, and they're shutting down a lot, and I don't know how Philly's going to stack up. Let me take a look. See, the thing I like about Perron is that power play. They have Perron on one side and they have Kubalik on the other side. And they both like work really well off each other. So typically when he gets points, a lot of the time it's on the power play. So that he'll double up for you. But at the same time, he's not getting it done as much as, like if you look, 5 goals, 6 assists, compare that with Konecny. Yeah, Konechny's been much better. And he's still getting it done on the power play too. I thought of him as more of an assist guy, but lately he's been scoring some goals too and getting a ton of shots. I guess I'd go Konechny because even if he's not going to score, he'll get a bunch of shots. Whereas I don't know if that's the case with Perron, and Perron is mainly a power play guy. You're welcome, guys. Has Spencer Martin stolen the spot from Demko? No, but as Jared in our Discord group has been mentioning, all he does for Vancouver is get them points, and Demko is definitely struggling. So, let's do this. Let's take a look. We'll go to Moneypuck and look at goaltending because it is interesting. So goals saved above expected. There's your Martin Jones, way above expected. Kochetkov playing really well right now. How low do we have to go until we find a Vancouver goaltender? There's Matt Murray right at even. Spencer Martin slightly below expected. And then how far down is Demko going to be? Oof. That's rough. Yeah, I mean, I think for the time being he has him, but it feels like I can't believe that they're going to potentially make another coaching change, but it feels like that's coming again. And I've mentioned it a bajillion times on this channel. It's happened to me last year where I dropped Demko, and as soon as I did, they changed coaches and he went off. So I wouldn't. If you want somebody to tell you to drop Demko, I can't do it. It's like programmed in me now. But Martin has been playing well, and I thought the same type of thing was happening in Edmonton. I thought Skinner was outperforming Campbell, and he absolutely has been. As we take a look back at this again, let's see if we can find those two guys. Where are the Edmonton guys? Yeah, Campbell, negative 6.7. He's way down there. So, I mean, that seemed to be happening for both of those teams. It's just like a coach, or a team sometimes likes to have some stability in there. And right now they're just not getting it from Demko, so they went to Martin. But, yeah, I don't necessarily think that he's going to steal the number 1 spot. Seider, good, buy low, or just avoiding? That's a good question because I wasn't high on him in the preseason because he was a 4th-round draft pick. But if you can buy low on him right now, then I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Let's take a look at Seider's file. Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy there. 5 assists, -4. Couple shots, couple hits, couple blocks. It is tough. So typically what happens, and I don't know if this is the only person who said this, but I listened to I used to listen to NHL radio, The Point from 1 to 3, and Boomer Gordon. He always said that a defenseman, especially in the first 3 or 4 years of their career, they have at least one really bad year or really down year. And considering Seider had an incredible rookie year, the odds of him having a bad year this year are higher than they would have been. And it looks like that's what's happening right now. So he's not going to get you offensive production. And that's, I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, there's just no goals at all, and then a couple assists here and there, and then he's just not getting a ton of shots or anything else. And Detroit's playing pretty well, so it's like, and he's getting the ice time. It's just not happening for him. I don't know if it would be a great buy low, just because I don't think he's, due to break out necessarily. I don't think he's, has an extremely low shooting percentage or anything like that, but I'm sure whoever drafted him in the 4th round is probably trying to get rid of him. So, yeah, Seider or Dobson, probably Dobson. Yeah. You guys are on the ball. Seider is super buy low. He could be. I mean, if you're whoever in your league has him, if they want to just dump him because they don't like it, then yeah, lowball him. But if you're looking for peripheral coverage, if you're looking for hits, blocks, and shots or whatever, there's other better options out there. If you're hoping that you'll get at least that and that his offensive game will turn around, then you could go for Seider. Stutzle for Zegras. I wouldn't do it. So if you look here, all players, and we'll go last 7 days. Take a look at Jimmy Stu. 2 goals, 4 assists, 3 power play points, 10 shots, 6 hits, 5 blocks. Doing everything. Dual position eligible. He's got 17 points on the year. And that offense. So I don't want a lot of exposure to Ottawa's defense or goaltending because they're both pretty porous. But the offense is something that you might want exposure to. I have Claude Giroux in a points league in one of my other leagues, and he's been killing it. Stutzle is killing it as well. I think he's doing better than DeBrincat, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, these are good numbers. And you see, like, every night he's doing something. So he's got a 3-game point streak. Even if he's not scoring, he's getting you shots. So I would go Stutzle over Zegras. Fun and crazy fact that I just saw the other day, that Anaheim still does not have a regulation win in 16 games. They're 5 something and something or whatever, and all 5 of those wins were an overtime or shootout, which is kind of crazy. 6-team league, so not deep. And I have Point. I was considering dropping him. Yeah, drop him. Grab Hughes. If you're in a 6-team league and a guy's not working out, just drop him immediately, because there's going to be... look at... none of these guys should be on a waiver wire in any other league. But, yeah. But if you're 5-0, but even still, Hughes and Hintz are better than Point. Kuznetsov's not. How do I feel about Lawson Crouse? I don't like him this week, but I've been mentioning him in a couple of weekly videos because he's getting a lot of power play looks for Arizona. And him and Nick Ritchie, for whatever reason, are the trigger guys. It looks like they've been running with J.J. Moser and Gostisbehere on the point, and then Crouse, Ritchie, and Keller up front. And then every now and then they'll give the second unit a look and get Michelli out there with some other guys, but Crouse has been getting it done mainly on the power play. But that's another one of those plays where if you're looking at some of these bad teams, would you rather have a third liner on the Blues or a first liner and a power play guy on Arizona? It's like you get more of an opportunity for stats if you have the worst guy or the better player on a worse team than the other way around. Not always, but in this case, I think that is true. Are you nuts for wanting to drop Buchnevich? You weren't, but he's starting to turn it around, so maybe hold on to him for another week or two and try to talk yourself off the ledge. Let's take a look at Buchnevich, because he did hit the wire in my league. And then, obviously, Delaware River picked him up because he's a fucking asshole. Yeah, ice cold all the way up through here. 2 assists on the power play, getting some stuff done. Starting to shoot it a little bit more. So I would wait on this for another week or two at least. And it, to me, eye test, it looks like this is what's been happening in my opinion. If you look at that losing streak, as soon as the losing streak ended, a lot of things happened. Binnington started playing better, and a lot of their offensive guys started coming around. Kyrou came around. Buchnevich is coming around. Ryan O'Reilly came around. So it looks like the team is starting to play better. They're chipping away wins. Now they've got a 4-game win streak. And I don't know why his minutes dropped off in the last game, but yeah, Buchnevich, I was a Rangers, I'm a Rangers guy, so watching him with the Rangers, he was always a guy that, like, I was amazed at how good his defensive game was. And so they do use him on the PK, or I don't know if they still do, but they were using him on the PK. So he was getting a ton of opportunities on the power play, penalty kill, and 5-on-5. And as long as he's going to start, playing up to where he was last year, he'll be getting a lot of those same opportunities. So I would probably just wait a week or two and see where you're at. Drop one, Riley Smith, Jake DeBrusk, or Braden Shen. That's an excellent question. Because I know Braden Shen does hit quite a bit. Shen, Smith, DeBrusk. I forgot which one's which. So DeBrusk is on the right. That's crazy. I knew he was shooting the puck, but I didn't know how much more he was shooting the puck than some of these other guys. So this doesn't have hits on here. That's the only problem. Because you said it was a bangers league. But let's just look at their files. 8 hits for Shen. Holy crap. That one game. But that, I don't know what to attribute that to. If he's getting 6 hits, 0. 4 hits, 1, 0. 8 hits, 1, 0. Like, where do the hits go when he's not hitting? That's kind of a little weird. Maybe drop Shen because of that. Riley Smith still getting PP one time, and the shot, up until the last 3 games, the shot totals were there. The hits aren't. And again, 5 hits and then 0. DeBrusk just for the shot volume, but he's also chipping in some hits as well. So yeah, I guess Shen would be the drop. Damn it. Froze up on me. Yeah, I guess I'll say Shen. Who would you rather have in a Cats league? Giroux, Kyrou, Bertuzzi, or Toffoli? I have Giroux in a points league, and I like that. I've gone to Bertuzzi a bunch before. I'm thinking he just came back from injury, did he not? Yeah, he literally just came back. So he's going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed. He wouldn't be my number one choice. I guess Kyrou would be the guy I would rather have out of all of them. And because I mentioned him before, and we were talking about the Blues, let's take a look at Kyrou. So, yeah, the shot volume is there even throughout the losing streak. He did have that 2-goal game. Was a little bit cold, but he's been chipping in the last couple games and starting to find his game. So yeah, Kyrou would be the guy for me. Minus 15, dude. Get it together. 49 shots. That's pretty good as well. I dealt for wait, where'd it go? I dealt for Huberdeau, but things have been rough. 15 minutes time on ice and third line. Think he turns it around still? That is tough. I think what's happening is Sutter wants him to play a certain way, and he's not, because that's just not the type of player he is. And typically what I've been stressing in a number of other cases is you don't want the guy the year after, like the year he gets traded, you want him the next year once he's a little bit more comfortable. Now, Matthew Tkachuk has completely thrown that out the window. I was pretty low on him. I thought that Huberdeau would be the better of the two, and I was definitely wrong about that. But I don't see Huberdeau being this bad for that much longer. Like in terms of, let's look at his file. Had a goal last game, an assist the other game. Had an upper body injury, so that doesn't sound good. It seems like, yeah, he just hasn't found it yet. I wouldn't completely jump off the ship, though, because, I mean, he's one of those guys, and I've watched him for a number of years because I've had him for like 4 years in a row. I'd used to pick him up in like the third, fourth round, and he'd be a first-round talent every year. But he's one of those guys that, like, he could just be standing there, and he'll just sauce a couple passes and get like 2-3 assists in a game. For whatever reason, that's not happening right now, but this would be, in my opinion, a buy low on him. I don't think that they're going to want, I forget how many millions of dollars he's making right now. Is it 10? I don't think they're going to want a $10 million player on the third line for that long, but if you, it looks like you already made the move, so I would just stick with it because you're not going to deal him again and then have him, turn it on and bite you in the ass. I have McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlson, Falk, Taves, and Trouba. That's way too many D. Gonna have to drop one when Nichushkin gets healthy. Of those guys, I would drop Falk because Taves gets you production. He's just not a power play quarterback, but you do have McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlson. Those are all potential power play guys. Trouba gets PP2 time. So I guess it would be Falk, because Falk is just a goal scorer in my eyes. What's a D-man who's been really cold that should heat up? That's a good question, and that would require a little bit more analysis than what I can do live. Unless maybe Moneypuck has something just for D. Why doesn't this go negative? That's why, because I'm looking at the wrong metric. Goals above expected. So if you're not used to using Moneypuck, this is a really good resource. And the main things that I look at are expected goals and goals above expected, because it kind of just tells you if the player's getting a bunch of chances and if they're converting on those chances. A lot of these other things are way too specific, and they're more for like actual team level analysis, trying to figure out who's a good defenseman or whatnot. But Slavin's not much of an offensive guy. I do think Trouba starts to turn it around. The Rangers D, I saw this stat, and I don't have it on hand right now, but the Rangers D combined has 111 shots and 0 goals outside of Adam Fox. So I would imagine that a guy like Trouba, especially with PP2 time, starts to turn it on. I do think Letang is playing terribly right now, and he should turn it around. He's a guy I was high on in the preseason, mainly because of his hits coverage and the peripherals as well as the offensive numbers. but just eye test too. Like, he's been terrible in front of his own net. I remember, I forget what goal it was, but there was a replay on a goal the other night, and he was just doing like a corkscrew on the ice, just like spinning around, and like it was ridiculous. So I would definitely think Letang starts to turn it around. It looks like Morgan Rielly hasn't been that offensively prolific. Maybe that turns around as well. Not that anyone's that high on him, but Niels Lundqvist should be getting a couple more goals just because of his shot and his power play usage. I'm pretty sure I read this. I forget where I saw it, but Mark Stahl has one of the worst not shooting percentages, but like he misses the net one of the highest levels of any defenseman in the league. So yeah, pretty funny. But I guess the defenseman I would say to answer that question would be either Trouba or Letang. Any goalie to replace Fleury for now? I didn't see what happened, but Eric Comrie went out last game for the Sabres. So it looks like Craig Anderson's the starter for now. And they're on a bit of a losing streak. So I would assume he's going to start whenever their next game is. Eric Comrie, undisclosed. 933 last game. So he started the season very hot. And then basically everything you're seeing from here up hasn't been that great, which is why he kind of lost the net to Eric Comrie. But look at this losing streak. That's got to turn around at some point, and he's going to be getting the starts. So maybe if you're in a pinch, of course, they don't play until Saturday against Toronto, so maybe not this week. But if you need some other goalie options for this week, check out my Week 6 video I did on Tuesday. I did have a couple in there, and one of them got a win. Again, the flu is kicking my ass, so I cannot remember which goalie I gave out that already got the win, but it was a 5-4 win. Oh, Korpisalo. I guess you could go Korpisalo as well. He's starting tonight in Montreal, so that could be. So you'd get potentially 3 games if they're not going to go with Merzlikins at all, but you'll probably get 2 games out of Korpisalo. And his numbers have been better in this small sample size than Merzlikins, as we saw here. Goals saved above expected. Let's just reverse it. Merzlikins is the worst. So I would definitely think that Korpisalo starts to chip away at some starts there. Buffalo recalled UPL because Comrie injury. Some thoughts about it. Don't have many thoughts. I think they'll give him a start, but like I said, they only have 1 game left this week, and it's against Toronto. I don't know if they'd want to throw the kid in there against Toronto in his first start of the season, but we'll have to see that. Creepy moments in your life. I'd have to think about that one. Reinhart and Kyrou still holds. Yes. I went over Kyrou. Can I bring this up? Because Reinhart's on here as well. Negative 3.58 goals below expected. So he should be getting a lot more than he is. But I do believe he's started to play better because I mentioned him in that exact same thing like 2 weeks ago. And I believe he started to score after that. So yeah, 2 goals, and then 1 goal. Still not crazy, but the shot volume is pretty good. And as Florida gets healthier, that's something that should help him, especially with the power play. Plus, he's dual center right wing eligible, and I don't know how many of you out there are in face-off leagues or points leagues with any kind of face-off weighting, but I'm in one, and it's very difficult to find center right wings to use as my right wingers, because I like to have, in a face-off league, I want every single player in my forward group to be a center, so they're chipping in some face-off wins as well. So I try to pay attention to center right wingers, and there's not a lot of good ones. So if you're in a league like that, he is dual eligible center right wing, and that is helpful. But he is underperforming, so but I do think that they will start to get healthy. They already got Ekblad back. Let me look at... I don't know what the injury was to Duclair. And there's been no news. But that's a guy to keep your eye on if you're in desperate need of some goals at a later point in the season. For whatever... I guess people are already doing this. He's 14% rostered, even though he hasn't played a game and there's no news on him at all. But if they can get Duclair back at some point, that will help as well. But he's another guy I'm like kind of waiting on. Is it known how long Comrie's out? I don't think so. It said undisclosed. DeBrusque was dropped today in my league, likely because of the 2-game week for Boston. Should I drop Bertuzzi or Kempe for him long term? Yeah, I would drop Bertuzzi. Because Bertuzzi, you want to see it happen first. Excuse me. Bertuzzi was playing really well last year. He just couldn't get into Canada. Now he's back. He should start getting it going, and that will probably help both him and Detroit, but I'd like to see it first just to make sure that he's back to where he was last year. And DeBrusque is a shot volume monster, as we went over a little bit earlier. I was thinking of offering JT Miller and Yossi for Jack Hughes and Hamilton. What do you think? I don't think anyone takes that right now. And if somebody did take that right now, they'd be selling high on those two guys. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't make a lot of sense for the other person, because Hamilton is a really good shot volume guy. Hughes is pretty good for shots as well. And Miller, I don't think, is hitting as much as he used to. I could be wrong about that. Every now and then, I guess he's getting some hits in there. Starting to pick it up, though. 16 points, -8. If you can pull that trade off, go for it. I just don't see the appeal for the other side of it. Hey, my D looks like this: Hedman, Riley, Theodore, McAvoy, Krug, and Hughes. Hughes. Interesting. So I think I have strong D. Should I try to trade one of my D for a forward? Who should I target? You absolutely should. You have a lot of really good D there. No, I don't think you'll get enough value out of trading Torrey Krug. I haven't checked in on Quinn Hughes this year. Look at his numbers. That's pretty on brand. No goals, 14 assists. So if you could get rid of Hughes, that would be the guy, because he's not getting any goals. I think Riley, we kind of went over. He should be scoring more than he is. Theodore is typically a goals defenseman. Hedman is the guy that you're going to want to keep as your D1. McAvoy is going to get you peripherals. Krug is a split-time power play guy in St. Louis, and I don't know if he has enough value to trade him. But if you could package Krug and Hughes to get a forward or something like that, that would work. If you had to, you could get rid of Theodore. But I would probably keep Hedman, Riley, and McAvoy. Just because those are really strong D. And, yeah, you should try to package those for a forward, because offense is going to win you championships. Thoughts on Reinhart's slow start? I guess my thoughts, I'll just say real quick. He was never a fantasy guy for me. And then last year he popped off and was a fantasy relevant guy. And this year he's kind of back to where he used to be. I think that whole offense is very different without Huberdeau. So I think that's kind of changed a lot of things. And I think missing Duclair kind of hurts everybody in the top 9. Not necessarily that, Duclair's a disher, but without Huberdeau and Duclair, I think it puts a lot more pressure on Reinhart, Verhaeghe, and all those guys. So maybe they're just gripping their sticks a little bit too much. But other than that, I don't watch them a lot. I would probably defer to Tyler in our Discord group for that one. He's a Panthers fan. Drop DeAngelo. Haven't been paying attention to Tony D. Yeah, I mean, the main reason to hold on to Tony D was the power play. And he's only got 2 power play points in this game log here. That goes back almost a month. So, yeah, I would drop Tony D. And if you're wondering like who you would pick up, like you could get Schultz, you could get Vince Dunn, you could get Gostisbehere maybe, you could get JJ Moser maybe, you could get one of those power play quarterbacks on a bad team. If that's what you got DeAngelo for, is power play numbers, and he's not putting them up, then that's probably what I would go with. I have a deal on the table which would send me Marner, Swayman for Saros, Caulfield. Ugh. That is tough. Like Saros is in the process of turning it around right now. And I like Cole Caulfield. He's been playing pretty well, putting up points. Marner, I think, has been underperforming compared to the insane pace he was on last year. So he could be a buy low target, but I mean, look at that point streak though. 19 points. So I guess what I would say about that, I like Swayman. I like having any of the Boston, like either of the Boston goalies. And Marner's an incredible player, so it's not going to hurt you. This is kind of a thing that I was bringing up in the video I did last week on like why you should or shouldn't make a trade. What is the point? Does this help you accomplish something? Does it help you, do you need, like, is Caulfield getting you more goals and you kind of need more assists? Because if so, then maybe you make that deal because Marner's going to get you more assists. Do you, like, if it's a points league and you notice that for whatever reason, like Caulfield has the name value, but he's not putting up enough points, whereas Marner's chipping in points because of the way the points are weighted or whatever, like try to ask yourself, like, what does this trade accomplish for your team before you make that deal? Just looking at it on the surface, it's kind of a lateral move. Is Russ droppable? We went over that earlier, so if you missed that, it was like the first question I answered in this live stream. And I'll just bring it up real quick. .63 goals below expected. Numbers aren't great. He's a waiver guy. He's a stream. For even when I've had him, like I've streamed him. When he goes cold, I drop him. But he's gone on, streaks where he's been really good. Right now, the guy to stream is Zucker. So, maybe wait on Rust. I've tried to get Seider and have been rejected each time. What's a fair price? I have Nurse, Letang, Taves, and Krug, and Hronik. Why do you want Seider? I think Nurse is a better version of Seider in terms of getting you like hits, blocks, and all the other stuff that you need. And then it looks like what you're lacking from these four guys or whatever is like elite level offensive production, because Letang hasn't really been getting it done. And I wouldn't sell low on Letang. But I guess the question is, what are you trying to get out of Seider? Because he's not been doing a lot lately. And if you're just looking to buy low, then maybe that doesn't help your overall stats, because it seems like, to me, Nurse is a better version of Seider, and you're kind of missing that elite number one defenseman because Letang hasn't been that yet. What do we do with Ovechkin? Trade him to me. I'll give you Tanner Jeannot. Laine, I'm holding Laine, and the problem that I have with Laine is he's typically been a goal scorer in that 30 to 40 goal range, and you can see how it should work on the power play. It just hasn't worked on the power play yet. And for me, like, I'm not going to drop him because I'd be selling low, and he's injured right now, so I'm just going to stream somebody. But if you look at, I mean, the shot volume is there, and when he goes off, he goes off. He's always been a frustrating own. He's always been a guy who's ice cold for a little bit, and then he goes off. And typically it's worse than this. So typically he'll be ice cold for like 2 months, and then have 1 month where he scores like 20 goals in a month. And that's the frustrating part of owning him. But you never know when that 1 month is going to come, or when that hot streak's going to come. And it clearly hasn't come yet, so I would kind of hold off and try to wait for it. Expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. And he's been playing through injury too. So if you're looking at it through that lens, like, he was playing with that elbow injury, so maybe that's affecting his production. It's not affecting his shot volume, but I wouldn't sell low on him. Picked up Kyrou and Thomas off waivers, thinking of trying to hold them. I definitely hold Kyrou, and it looks like Thomas is starting to come around as well. Thoughts on Weegar in a 12-team cat league? So I was kind of all over the place on Weegar, because at first I thought he was an offensive defenseman that just didn't get power play time, but then I saw his peripherals, and they're still very good. The hits and blocks and everything else, you're just not getting any offense at all at this point. I mean, zeros everywhere. So if all you're looking for is peripherals, then that's probably a reason to keep him. If you can, I mean, I don't know if anyone would want him at this point because he's not scoring 4 assists on the year, but if you can trade him for somebody who gets you the same type of peripherals but also chips in some points every now and then, that would help. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to attribute that to, because I did think he was a little bit better than that offensively. See if I can go back to his older seasons. I mean, 44 points last year. That if you got that level of production this year, plus the hits and blocks that he put up, then that's fine. And he's still getting the hits and blocks, just not the offensive production. So maybe wait on that, and he'll start to come around. But again, it might be one of those cases where, first year with a new team, just hasn't found the offense yet. He's playing in a new system with Daryl Sutter. Daryl Sutter's a much more defensive-minded coach. So I guess my thoughts would be, if you need offense, cut bait, try to drop him or trade him. But if you need that peripheral coverage, if the hits and blocks are something that are in your categories, then maybe keep him for now. Do you think you ride out the Hedman slump or sell him while he's got value? He's not going to lose value from here. if he's slumping, he's not going to continuously go down. Anybody who's going to be playing, I mean, if you look at Kucherov is killing it, Stamkos is killing it, points hit or miss, but like you're going to, even if he's not playing at his full potential, he's getting you exposure to those guys. So I would hold on to him and ride it out. And like worst case scenario, try to like increase his value for a trade and, you know, maybe start a bidding war or something for Hedman, but I wouldn't trade him just for anything. Like it would have to be for like Yossi or somebody like that who's, you know, but even then it's like a lateral move. It's not like you're getting anything better than that. Gudis, Matt Tkachuk, and Stamkos for Rust, Vanacek, and McJesus. Why on earth would anyone do that? Like from the other end, like obviously you should do that, but I don't get that at all. I get the fact that Matt Tkachuk is playing well and Stamkos is playing well as well, but you just drop Rust. Even, you know, those guys for McDavid and Vanacek, that's definitely worth it. McDavid's number one in all leagues right now. Vanacek is one of the top goalies. Let's take a look at the goalies. Yeah, Vanacek, 35 overall, 6th highest goalie. And, like, this is, again, why you don't pick a goalie in the first round. Shesterkin's playing fine. He's playing really well. He's 36th. He's the 7th best goalie. But you could have had Vanacek in the 12th round or later, and he's playing better. And you could have had Logan Thompson in that range, and he's playing better. Linus Ullmark in that range. Hellebuck was a 6th round pick in our league. Like, this is exactly... Kochetkov, I don't know. I mean, this is a very small sample size. Husso, he was available deep. Spencer Knight, I had him deep. Martin Jones, like all these guys you could have picked up off the waiver wire. But yeah, if you're going to get Vanacek, the Devils look like they're not going to stop winning anytime soon. I hope they stop tonight because I'm betting against them. But yeah, definitely take that trade. Crap. Just lost my place. Take that deal and run. Yeah. On Buchnevich, check out the plus minus. Look at that. Compare it to Kyrou. You can see how good defensively he is in that degree. I mean, yeah, I know Buchnevich has always been a pretty good defensive player, and I had an eye pop moment when I saw Kyrou's plus minus. Ovechkin's minus 15, huh? Hertl or Couture? Right now, Couture. And I mentioned him on the Instagram. So if you're new here and you didn't see the intro, Data Draft Instagram, and it's not going to come up for whatever reason, but I did just highlight Logan Couture. He's 14th in the last 7 days in Yahoo category leagues. So this is a place where if you're just getting into, like, I just started this Data Draft Instagram account, but it's a place where I can put up things a little bit quicker than trying to do a full like YouTube video. Obviously, like my biggest problem is my YouTube videos are way too long. So I've been trying to cut them down, but I figure like the more info I give you, you can kind of pick and choose what you like. And, you know, I usually put the chapters in there so you can kind of fast forward if you need to, but this is like a really quick way where you can get a couple of options. I mentioned Rodriguez in the most recent weekly video, but I highlighted him on Instagram first because it was a lot quicker to do so. So if you're not already, go ahead and follow Data Draft Instagram account. And I literally just posted Logan Couture's stats and his streaming availability about 2 hours ago. So I would go with Couture over Hertl. But if Hertl's there, like I've been looking at him on the wire, he's still a pretty good option. Tyler, you're keeping Kane for the potential for a trade. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's doing. Thoughts on my trade of picking up Evander Kane for Kubalik? That's exactly what you want to do. So I had Kubalik, and I parlayed that into, well, I mean, I had Kubalik, Gostisbehere, and Spencer Knight, all three of whom I picked up off waivers, and I parlayed that into Saros and Ehlers. So what you're doing in this case is you're taking a guy who's red hot right now and trading him for a much better fantasy player who's hurt, and maybe the guy didn't want to wait on him. But yeah, that's a great trade. Will Crosby turn it around? Yes and no. Crosby is always going to be around a point per game guy, but he's never going to be like an above, like he's not going to be a 100-point guy at this point in his career. I don't think. Like, I could be wrong. He's obviously the kind of guy that could prove you wrong. But I think Crosby is more of a complete player at this point than just trying to chip away at stats. Nothing wrong there, though. Like, he's getting some points. I think Pittsburgh, everybody in Pittsburgh's kind of struggling. We're going to go 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to call it a day. As I mentioned before, the entire family has the flu, so I'm lucky to be getting any time to do this. Shallow league, but my later draft forwards are killing me. Sagan, Jeannot, Beniers, who's worth keeping? If you're tired of waiting on Jeannot, I do like Brandon Tanev. Let me just do the research assistant on this one, because I've been thinking about this in a number of leagues. Jeannot's been my hits guy last year and into this year. But Tanev has the same type of potential, and he's getting more offensive production. This isn't going to give us hits, though. That's kind of stupid. But yeah, you're getting, one more goal, but a couple more assists as well with Tanev. Not as many shots, a couple more blocks. But if you look at the hits coverage, pretty decent. 10 points plus 12. That's not that bad. I didn't think that, like, if you're in a plus-minus league and you need hits and plus-minus, maybe you go with Brandon Tanev. Jeannot typically has just been a goal scorer who hits a lot, and boy, is he still hitting, but the goals just haven't been there. So he's ice cold offensively, and that's typically fine. I don't really care about that. It was nice last year that he put in 24 goals, but I'm in it for the hits, and he's definitely hitting. And he's getting some shots too, so it's not a complete loss. And a couple blocks every now and then too, but that would be my play is Brandon Tanev, who's also dual eligible. So he'll be able to, if you're in a night like tonight or, the heavier nights, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and you need some more flexibility, then that helps out a little bit too with Tanev. Do I expect Letang to shoot more? Yes. I don't know what's going on with Letang. I've been watching and he looks terrible. But you're not in it for, I mean, I'm thinking of how he's playing defensively, but you're in it for the offense and the hits. But hey, he got paid. Moneybag syndrome. It may be happening. You were right about Meyer and his shot volume eventually paying off. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's still leading the league in shots. Am I mistaken on that one? By a considerable margin too. Well, Pasternak's right up there, but yeah, 89 shots is pretty insane. When he's 12 up on Matthews, that's pretty good. Shout out Tage Thompson though, 75 shots. And I mentioned him, he was at 3.75 shots per game in the week 5 video that I highlighted him, and then immediately after that he had that 6-point game or whatever. But the main reason to get him was the shot volume, but now it's everything else too. 12 goals. And look at Jack Hughes. So whoever was asking about Jack Hughes, you're getting him for the shot volume floor, and he's around a point per game. And Ovechkin's still getting you everything for all the people out there who are asking about Ovechkin. One more question, and then I'm going to have to cut it off. I have Markstrom, Jari, Vanacek. Should I trade one of them for a winger? Currently second, but third last for goals. It would be a nice sell high on Vanacek right now. I do think Vanacek can continue this, but all it takes is one injury. And he's playing incredible right now. So if you could parlay Vanacek into a really good winger right now, and then try to just stream a goalie, hope for Jari to start taking some starts back and picking up his game because he's been pretty terrible. If you can hold out with just Markstrom and Jari, then I would trade Vanacek and try to do that. Hits and blocks, low rostered. One guy, maybe Jekai, but Martinez is the blocks guy for me. I streamed him a little bit. I just don't have enough room on my roster, and he's not getting a ton of hits. Romanov is getting a little bit of everything, but I mean, just take a look at the difference here. Like 79 blocks, and the next highest is 52. So that's, I mean, if you're just looking for blocks, it's Martinez. If you're looking for just hits, I mentioned Tenorti earlier. He's getting way more hits than blocks, but he gets a little bit of both. And then there's Gudis. But yeah, I mean, those would be some of the options. But I hear my kids screaming upstairs, so I'm going to have to cut this off. Thank you guys for hanging out. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I will be trying to do more live streams. I've literally just been sick for like 3 weeks, and I was literally bedridden for the entire week so far. Didn't have a voice, so I wasn't able to do anything. But I've been meaning to get to this, and I like answering your questions and going through some stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon. Remember, follow Data Draft on Instagram. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments section. Maybe I can get back to you just with some text or whatever. But thanks again for watching, and I'll